Alright folks, I thought I'd do a little look at the new Work Tuff Gear Puzon Wilderness Bowie EDC. I think it was designed by Dave Puzon, who designed a whole bunch of knives for Work Tuff Gear, including the Puzon Wilderness Bowie 7 and 9. And I think he designed something called the Prather Bowie as well. There's probably a couple other things I'm missing. So this is his kind of newer design, I believe. It's quite interesting. I do have some thoughts on it. So let's get into it here. I've got a few other knives to compare. I've got the Ursus, the White River Ursus Cub here. It's a very close comparison. And then we've got the Work Tuff Gear Lynx and the Cold Steel Pendleton Mini Hunter. So let's just take a look at the sheath here on the Puzon Wilderness Bowie EDC. So it didn't come with this Ulti-Clip. This is an Ulti-Clip 3.3 I put on here. I like Ulti-Clips for pocket carry. So this comes with a Kydex sheath, just like all of Work Tuff Gear knives do, and they do a very good job with them. This one is a taco style sheath. The previous runs of them came with a pancake style sheath. Is a little bit bigger than this, so it's just to lower the footprint down, I presume. It still has a pretty big footprint just because it's got a deep blade, so if you look at it compared to maybe the Lynx, it's roughly the same width. And then if you compare it to the sheath of the Ursus Cub, it's about the same, even though this is a pancake style sheath. So if you got a aftermarket sheath made up for this, or I think Armitage Carry makes sheaths for this, it would probably be a lower profile sheath, which is fine. One thing I noted is the handle width on the knife it's quite wide, which makes it kind of great probably as a knife you're going to use a lot, right? Because it's going to fill your hand. Although with the Ursus Cub, actually, this grip fits my hand perfect, and it's maybe like it feels a little bit small and narrow, but it's an EDC, like it's a small knife, so it's actually kind of perfect. What I do like is it's got the little cut in for your index finger, but it doesn't go too deep, so when you're carving, your index finger still has a good grip and it doesn't float, which is a problem I've noticed on this knife. When I was using it earlier, I was doing some feather sticking with it, and you can see there's a very deep cut out there, quite a bit more than with the Cub. So you can see it's a deep cutout for your index finger, and then there's this big bulbous, I don't know what to call it, but it's a little bulbous area of the grip. It looks cool, but it doesn't fit well in my hand, and I'll explain why. So if I put this knife in my hand, you can see I've got my index finger going in this hole, and then this bulbous part goes almost right where my middle finger knuckle is. So when I grab onto the knife, it feels like it's kind of like pushing on my knuckle and pushing out my middle finger in a weird way. It's kind of hard to describe. You have to feel it. And then I find this cutout for the index finger, like you can see my index finger trying to wrap around. Because of this big bulbous area here, I can't really get my index finger around. There's a huge gap there. So I can get rid of that gap by bringing it further up into my fingers and wrapping it up. But the thing is even when I do that, if I'm feather sticking or doing any kind of push work, it just feels like I have no grip with this index finger, and it's just kind of floating around in here. And I have heard people complain about things like that before for kind of cutouts that are just done too deep on grips. I never really understood what they were talking about until I got this knife, and I totally understand what they're talking about now. So unfortunately, I'm a little disappointed with this knife on that respect. Everything else is perfect. It looks beautiful. The blade is wonderful. It's insanely slicey and sharp. I can't remember the thickness of the steel, but it's definitely less than 3/16 because it's quite thin. And it's I think it's thinner than on the Lynx. Let's take a look. So you can kind of look there. I don't think I can hold them both up at the same time because I'm using my one hand to hold the camera up. I'm pretty sure They might be the same, or this might be a little bit less. I think this is a little less thick than with the lynx. I could be mistaken. But either way, let's compare those two knives. So they've got pretty similar blades on them. The Bowie's a little bit longer of a cutting edge, a little bit longer of a blade, and then the handle's obviously quite a bit longer. As you can see here, it's like almost an inch longer. But with the lynx, it goes really nice into my hand. It feels really great. It's got a little bit of a cutout, but it's nothing drastic for that index finger, and I never have a problem with feeling like it's floating in there. And this makes this a really great EDC knife. It's just the fact that it's compact, but it's still got a good blade length, like 3.5 inch blade length or so. So I do like that. If you put these two side by side, which I haven't done yet, let's put the bottom of the handles roughly the same. Let's see here. There we go. You can see the blade length is just slightly longer on the Bowie there. You can see the blade goes a little bit closer to the handle on the Ursus Cub. And then you can see the blade kind of ends maybe a couple millimeters before the grip on the Bowie. And then you can see, let's put these on top of each other. You can see, or even just next to each other. Sorry, a little bit of cat hair there, so the cat. You can see the grip on the Ursus Cub is a lot thinner than on the Bowie. So it does, that's why it feels small in the hand, but it still does fill my hand enough. And I also like, just the way this grip is designed is really, really good. It's got a little bit of a curve down on the spine of it, so you can see it curving down right here, which makes a great knife. I've always looked for that in a knife handle. And then you've got just this little swell here, and then this little cutout. It's a really great designed handle. I have to say it's not as good of a design on this knife, in my opinion. Other people may have a differing opinion than me. I think maybe Dave has really big hands, so maybe this kind of works for him, but then I don't understand this cutout for the index finger, because if he has a really big finger, I guess maybe it would fill that. I don't know. I've got like medium to large size gloves depending on the brand, so I'm probably like kind of in between. And I just find the grip, it's just it's got a swell in the middle, and it's like too wide, and then it's also got too much depth. So it's just too bulbous in the middle. I don't fully understand. I've never had an issue like this. It's very strange. But I really do like the knife, so I'm probably going to keep it just as like an EDC and like a little kind of camp kitchen knife and stuff. So I'm not going to be using it like a survival knife where I might be using it for hours and hours on end. So I don't think I'll have any issues with blisters or anything like that, because I just won't be using it for extended periods of time. But I'm a little disappointed. I'm sorry, Work Tuff. Like, if anybody's watching, I'd be curious to hear what Scab from Choir Boys Outdoors feels about this knife, because he's used it a whole bunch, and I think he's got big mitts. I think he's a big dude, and I'm curious to see what he thinks of the grip and if he has any issues with it, or if it's just fine for him. I wonder if this is good for big hands as opposed to smaller hands, whereas something like the Ursus Cub, I've heard lots of people say, this is, people with bigger hands have trouble with this because their pinky starts getting into here, and it's just a smaller grip, whereas, it feels really good in my hand. So I don't know. I might get another one of these Ursus Cubs. I told my friend he really wanted this knife, and I bought one, and they're all out of stock by the time he went and tried to buy one. So I might just give this one to him, and then I might just buy another one for myself down the road, because I do like that knife. This knife I may keep too, just because it's unique. There's good things about this knife too I want to talk about as well. So I'm going to end with the last thing that annoys me on this knife. So you can see there's a little cutout here, a little scallop, so you can grab the knife like this, presumably, and you can do some cutting, things like that. What annoys me about this is this should go all the way along here, because if I grab this knife like this, I want to rest my thumb here, for when I'm doing some tasks. I like to rest my thumb in that area on a lot of knives. I don't do it on every knife, but I do like it. And it's just really uncomfortable. Like, it just kind of feels like it's, I don't know. It's just uncomfortable, I guess is the easiest way to put it. So I guess I just hold this knife like this, which is fine. But it's just a small little niggle. And then, as far as an EDC goes, it's getting on the bigger side. It's 7.8 inches in overall length. EDC, I would say, would be somewhere for me between 6.5 to 7.5 inch overall length, and then somewhere between maybe a little under 3-inch blade to a 3.5 inch blade like this. This is a 3.6 inch blade. So the blade size is perfect. And again, works better for me because I don't have huge mitts, right? I've got a bunch of that sticking out. I could probably lose a whole inch off that grip, or at minimum 1/2 inch, and I wouldn't have any issues. So it's a little bit big, but I can still pocket carry it, and it sticks out maybe about here. So overall, I do really like this knife. It slices really well. It feather sticks amazing. That's one thing it does way better than the Ursus, because this is kind of like, it's almost like a paring knife. It's got a good thick spine on it, but it's very thin at the blade. You can see there. It makes it harder to feather stick with. It requires more like technique. Maybe it's something I just need to get used to. But I definitely noticed it was more difficult, whereas I've never had a problem feather sticking with Work Tuff Gear knives at all, because I think it's because of their convex grind they do on the blade, and it just makes it feather stick like a dream. Like, this thing feather sticks great. Something I do like about this knife and this knife, they both do this, is, if let's say I was skinning a deer or skinning whatever, an animal, large animal, I can put a finger in this groove. So that's one good thing about this groove. And then I can put my other finger up here, so I can do some slicing kind of like this, which is perfect for skinning. Wonderful. And, if you're butchering an animal, it might actually be nice to be able to reach in there and have a little bit of power behind and do some stuff like that. You can, obviously use the grip to kind of protrude it in, do some stuff. And then it's nice to have a sharp tip to get into joints and things if you need to. The Ursus Cub is very similar. So I can actually get higher up on the blade. So instead of using my middle finger, I can use my ring finger, and I can get way up here and hold it like this. And it's a super secure hold. It feels very comfortable. I could probably do the same thing, but you'll notice because it's got this tip, this drop tip that's more central in the blade, which is better for bushcrafting stuff. It's not that great for hunting because you're missing that sweep on the blade that makes it easier to do things like cutting meat or especially skinning. So you kind of almost need to hold the knife kind of like this to go skinning. So that's the one downside about this knife for me. I like a knife that can kind of do it all. This is pretty damn close, and you can make it do it all. So it's a great knife. That's one other thing about the Lynx that I like, is it's got this big sweep on the blade. So I have absolutely no problem. Just, it was made for this, right? But yeah, you can get a good sweep for skinning and stuff. And it's also very sharp and slicey. So both good slicey blades. I think the Wilderness Bowie EDC and the Lynx, I mean, like, this is really slicey. This is even more slicey of a knife because the edge is just so fine. Like, it's very, I've heard somebody say it was a 17,000th of an inch or something. This is definitely not that, but it does seem very slicey. So yeah, I'd say it's a little bit bittersweet with this knife for me because I really love Bowies. They kind of throw me back. Family history for me is, my family goes back to the Wild West days, and they're all ranchers and farmers and stuff. And, my family has a rumor that somebody back in the day was one of the great outlaws. So, it makes you kind of want Bowies more, I guess. And I've always liked the aesthetics of a Bowie knife. So, yeah, that's my kind of initial impressions of the Work Tuff Gear Puzon Wilderness Bowie EDC. I think it's a great knife. For me and my body, my hand, I could use some design differences in the handle. I probably wouldn't change a thing with the blade. It looks beautiful. The handle, though, just this right here. Something about this doesn't work for me. Just too deep of a cutout here, and then you've got this huge palm swell. If you got rid of this palm swell a little bit and this little jut out here, you might even be able to keep this because the rest of your hand would fit in more nicely, but I'm not really sure. But for something about this handle bothers me. It holds really good in reverse grip. It's fantastic because my little pinky goes in there fairly decent, but yeah, I don't know, there's just something about it, the way the handle's designed, and you know, reverse grip's not half bad on this. I can get pretty far up. It's not bad. I could hold it like this probably for reverse grip. But yeah, it's really awesome. Let's talk about some of the things it comes with. So Work Tuff Gear, you get a whole bunch of swag when you buy Work Tuff Gear stuff, which is awesome. This is the belt clip it came with. It looks like you can change it between kind of just regular drop carry and maybe scout carry, which is kind of cool. And then it actually came with this, I'm not even sure what this is. I think it's a lighter holder, which is super cool. I might put this on my Work Tuff Gear mountain lion, because that's kind of my fire knife and my survival knife. So I might put that on there. I think that's really cool. So thanks, Work Tuff Gear, that's great. They always come with a little bit of paracord. They come with like patches and stickers, and they usually come with, all the ones I've ever gotten have come with a microfiber cloth for like cleaning your knife and stuff. They come with all the hardware for mounting, you know, however your knife is going to mount onto your person or gear. So that's always cool. I've got a whole bunch of them over here all piled up. I got Work Tuff Gear stickers for days, which is awesome. So yeah, I really love Work Tuff Gear stuff, and I like N690 Cryo. I haven't really used my knives too heavily to be able to tell what the edge retention is like. They stay sharp, and I just strop them up every once in a while just to make sure they stay sharp, but I've never had one actually go dull on me yet. That's probably because of my turnover is pretty high for knives. I usually buy and sell them a lot just because I want to experience lots of different stuff. All my favorite hobbies, I tend to buy and sell a lot of different models of things to find out what I like and don't like. So I guess this is one of those instances where I've discovered something I don't like. It really hurts me because I really like this knife. I love the aesthetics of it, and it's just the grip. I don't know. I don't understand. Why don't you fit in my hand properly? So I don't know. I think I'm gonna keep this knife just because it's a really cool knife. Maybe a future generation of this knife will have some changes for us smaller people that want to hold this in our hand and not be uncomfortable. I don't really know. I presume this is for big hands. I just don't know. I couldn't tell you. So maybe Scab from Choir Boys Outdoors can chime in the comments there, and I'll pin his comment to the top if he does. Like, Scab, what do you think about the grip on this knife? I'm pretty sure you have big mitts. Let me know your glove size in the comments and just how you feel this knife fits in your hand. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm sorry if I kind of put a little downer, but if you're ever thinking about a Work Tuff Gear knife and you've never had one before, they're fantastic fit and finish. As you can see, they're just absolutely gorgeous knives. Mine's got a little bit of stuff on it because I was batoning with it and feather sticking with it earlier. But you can beat the crap out of these knives and they never break. They never have any problems. Like, Work Tuff Gear knows what they're doing with their heat treats and everything. So they do a fantastic job. These are like custom quality knives at a much lower price. Like, they're fantastic. So if anybody from Work Tuff Gear is watching this, I love you guys, and keep making what you're making because I love your stuff. Thanks for watching, folks. I hope that wasn't too much of a ramble, and I hope this helps some people decide whether they may or may not get this knife. It's a great knife if you're thinking about getting it, and most people just collect them anyway. They're not really going to use them that much. I always consider like I may use my knives quite heavily. I only keep a couple around really because I'm actually going to use them. I keep knives I'm going to use. I don't really collect like some other people for the most part. So yeah, that's kind of my ramble about this knife, but I'm going to use it more and see if my opinion changes at all. If it does, I'll let you know, but I think as it stands, unfortunately, I don't like this handle on this knife. Makes me really sad. Anyways, thanks for watching, folks.